hustling. I won't be defined by your dreams, committed to my goals, yeah. Gotta do my own thing, keep up the hustling.
Hi, welcome to Hustleburg. This podcast is all about small business in Saint Petersburg, Florida. How the business owners got started, how they built their business, and how they serve our community. I'm Brett Bittner, and I'm the host of Hustleburg, and I started Beyond Your Side Hustle, a marketing firm where we help budding entrepreneurs go beyond their side hustles and ditch their 9-to-5s. As the founder of a small business here in St. Pete myself, I love meeting and talking with fellow small business owners. Lucky for you, I also like to record those conversations for you to listen to. If you find anything of value in this episode, I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast, because there are probably more nuggets in other episodes, both past and upcoming. It would also be great if you rate and review the episode to let us know what you got out of the conversation. If you have a question about marketing, building your brand, or operating your small business that you'd like to have answered on a Q&A episode, please visit beyondyoursidehustle.com/podcast question to submit it. In this episode of Hustleburg, I had the opportunity to talk with Psalms Mack and Carlton Owens from Psalms Gourmet Brittle. Now, we had a fantastic conversation. In fact, this episode is probably longer than any other interview episode that we've done, and it was because we just couldn't stop talking to one another. It was terrific. Enjoy! All right, Carlton, Psalms, why is it Gourmet Brittle? Why is it that you make that?
Well, I make it because I love making it, and I make it because I want other people to love tasting it and enjoying the pleasure of the flavors that I create, and to know that it's been homemade in a kitchen that the hands in which it's been prepared has been prepared with love and caring and blessings and considerations of the end user, I guess you could say, the person who's going to receive the product.
Now, what are some of the flavors of brittle that y'all offer?
Currently, we offer peanut, pecan, mixed nut, fireball peanut, cashew, banana nut, I should say banana walnut, and yam pecan brittle. I'm currently working on another flavor, almond chocolate coconut, which I'm perfecting before I present it to the public.
Now that sounds like way more brittle than I've ever heard of. Peanut brittle is about as much as I've heard of, so I'm interested to hear a lot of these different flavors. What was it that got you started in doing this? How were you motivated to get started in creating these flavors and the Psalms Gourmet Brittle brand of brittle?
I guess you would say what motivated me to begin making it was to find a way to give gifts at Christmas time. And Carlton can tell you more about that, I think. His version of that as a youngster, because I've been making brittle for some time. I just never took it outside of the family until recently.
Yeah. So just let me chime in here. So essentially, my mom has always been like this woman that just loves to give, especially during the Christmas holidays. So over the years, she would do all different types of baked goods, cookies, cakes, but the brittle, the actual brittle is what people kept asking about after the Christmas holidays. And so as a youngster, I didn't think much about it. I thought it was just, people just liked it and they just want to eat more of it. But it wasn't until I went to college and I got homesick one year and I went into a store and grabbed a box of store-bought brittle and opened it up like it was Christmas all over again. And it took a bite and almost broke my jaw because it was so hard. And I remember I was there with a friend of mine and he said, well, don't you know brittle is supposed to be hard and chewy? And I said, well, not my mama's brittle. My mama's brittle is light, airy, and crispy. I don't know if those were the exact words, but that's what I remember feeling like, in comparison to the brittle that was on the store shelves. So that was the first light bulb. But the second light bulb came in um, early last year when, she was preparing for, retirement, and we were looking at things that she wanted to do and get involved in. And I said, hey, Ma, I think this may be the opportunity to take the brittle that everybody loves and let's see if we can turn it into, a business. And that's kind of how it started. And I started just, giving out samples, and she would get in the kitchen, and at first it was one of those things where she wanted to do it. But at the same time, it was like, okay, well, let me just trust that you're going to give the samples. Let's see what happens, basically. And so it just caught fire. And, here we are a little over a year later, and, we've kind of blanketed, all of Saint Petersburg and parts of Tampa.
So it looks like you're bringing people into the family circle to get the brittle. You mentioned having locations in St. Pete and in Tampa. I think there are 30 or so. What are some of the more popular places where we can find it around town? And then when you're looking for stores that you seek for partners, what are you looking for with them?
Well, actually, we have, like you said, we have over 30 vendors now. Some of the more popular vendors are the vendors that people would know just off the bat. Would probably be Spiro's, which is an amazing local market that's in the South Pasadena area. But our more marquee, more well-known, and even more broad vendors are going to be 7-Eleven, and also Rollin Oats, which has 2 locations, very, very popular small grocery store chain, and the infamous Mazzaro's, which is probably, if you ever been in there, and you've probably been in there quite a few times, it's probably
Sure.
the most amazing visual, traffic heavy places. And so, once we got into there, we knew that it was possible really to start looking, beyond those locations and trying to do more and more locations. So really what we found is the vendors that work well with the product seem to be more localized. So, we're talking farmers markets, places that sell produce, places that sell, local, type of variety shops and so forth. And those are the vendors that we've been drawn to, and those are the vendors that have given us so much love and attention. And people flock to those different areas and locations.
So it feels like you're really focused on local markets that can be partners with you, that you're adding value to their customers and they're adding value to you by carrying such a fantastic product.
Exactly. And one of the things too, Brett, how we pulled them into the family is initially when we work with a partner, we create samples for them so they can distribute those to their customers. Because again, a lot of people are under the impression that brittle has to be hard, or it's not something they really want. They rather have an Almond Joy or a Snicker bar. But once they taste a sample, which is given to them by our partner, is provided there for them, for the consumer, then they say, hey, I think I like that. And they'll take a product or a unit home. And then from there, once they get home and they're sitting and they're eating it with ice cream, or they're eating it with popcorn or whatever.
Barbecue.
Even barbecue and fried chicken, we've even heard people say.
Sure.
Or they have it after dinner dessert. They begin to really enjoy it. So when they go back to our partner's place of business, they go back and they say, hey, I'm going to pick up another pack, take home, put it in the fridge. I'll have it when I want it, da-da-da-da. And it becomes a habit for them to pick it up, just like they would pick up a stack of broccoli or ice cream or a carton of milk. They would then pick up the brittle. So that's one way we bring them into the fold, by providing them an opportunity to taste and see first if this is something you're really going to enjoy. And most people do.
Yeah, and Brett, there's another thing that I want to add to that. When we had a chance to get into Tyrone Mall last year for the holiday season, and we had a chance to give out those samples, it was something that I coined the 5-step rule. And this is, we would literally give someone a sample. You know, if they would take the sample, because, you know, whenever you're in the mall, you're not necessarily thinking about samples. You're just going about your shopping and so forth, especially around Christmas time. So give them the sample and literally 5 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They stop and they turn around. And that's
Wow.
for me when I knew fully that this is something special. And that just gave me even more motivation to, you know, get my mother's product out to as many people as possible. And I knew if I could just get you to sample the product, we had a high likelihood of bringing you in as a customer.
That's awesome. Now, you're in a field that's dominated by some large makers, you know, the big agribusiness and food producers making mass-produced items. Did you or do you have anybody or anything that's helping you, guide you in building the business that you're working on and that you have been for the last year or so to make sure that you succeed?
Well, yes, I have a consultant from the Small Business Development Center here in Pinellas County. Her name is Christy Jarvos. I was it was advised that I speak to them about various resources that I could take advantage of. And the first call I got from Christy, I knew right away this was a person who had years of experience. I think she's got like over 20 some, maybe close to 30 years of experience from New York. I mean, just vivacious, encourager, motivating person. And we have been having phone conversations, time appointments every week. So she guides me, she gives me advice, she tells me the different resources that are available there, the types of classes I should be taking. In fact, I just took one yesterday on marketing based on her advice and the different things that I should be doing to grow the business. So I lean on her expertise. And then I also go out and I talk, you know, a few people who have our product and listen to what they have to say. So I'm guided by wisdom of someone who's gone before me and knows a lot about pretty much marketing and how to grow a business. And then I'm listening to people who are telling me things about the product. And of course, I bring that back to Chris and I said, well, what do you think about that? Is that something that, you know, I should pay attention to or not? So that's one, I guess you could say, reservoir of a place where I can go to get information. And the other place that I really depend heavily on to guide me is my faith in God. I mean, there are a lot of things that I'm unsure of as I'm in the kitchen. And, you know, I question how much of this I should put into a mixture. And I'm praying in a way, you know, God, you know, guide me on what to do here because I'm just going by instinct, but I need help. So many of I could say the last 4 mixtures that I've created has been solely guided by the divine Spirit of God. And some people would say the Holy Spirit of God to tell me you got too much in this. Next batch, you may take out so much, or you need to add so much of this or not. And there are times I wake up and I already know what I should do with a certain mixture. It's almost as if it's been dumped into my brain while I slept overnight. And I realized, you know, that didn't come from man. That came directly from God. So I rely on that as a guiding light for me. And I'll talk to Carlton. I say, you know what, Carlton? I got it. I got it now. I just got it.
Yeah.
And I say, the Holy Spirit just gave it to me, you know, and that's the truth. The Holy Spirit just gave it to me. So I rely on man and as a guiding light. And most importantly, I rely on the Holy Spirit of God.
Now, here in St. Pete, we have a fantastic community, not just in general, but also in the small business world. What are some of the most inspiring things that you've worked on as you navigate the dessert market, some of the smaller local markets that are partners with you, as well as the community at large?
Well, one of the things that I would say is I was just overwhelmed on how supportive the local community, particularly with the vendors, have been in terms of embracing our product. Because these 30 plus vendors, before I walked in the door, most of them didn't know who we were, didn't know much about our product. Some did, but most did not. And the way that they just opened up their doors and said, "Hey, let's try it. Let's see what happens." And that just support network of these different partners and vendors that are just encouraging us, giving us feedback, giving us pointers, giving us other places maybe we should try, has been very refreshing and has been very motivational as to how we roll out different products and how we're able to touch our customers. Mom, please think about that.
Yeah, I would agree. Carlton's out there in the community more so than I am because I'm in the kitchen, Brett.
Sure.
But, he goes out and he brings back information to me about, hey, I was in, what was the last one? The chicken
Cone, which is an amazing new restaurant that's right down on Central Avenue and 4th.
Uh-huh.
Amazing place. Chicken and waffle cone place. Very, very cool.
Yes. And he'd come back and he'd tell me he was there and somebody bought something from there, moved it over to Tampa, and then they're emailing back or on Instagram communicating with, hey, we had to get more than one snack pack. And it's exciting to know that these partners that we have out there, which we call our vendors, our wholesale vendors, that they provide an opportunity and a special place on their countertops or in a special section within their store or shop to house our product and to really kind of showcase it because they're making profit because it's selling so well there for them. Now, in terms of, did you say ask about the community?
Yes.
In terms of what we've done in the community, or what was? Well,
just some of the most inspiring things that you've worked on within our community.
Oh yeah, this whole essential worker campaign that still goes on today, as it involves COVID-19, is still something that's dear to our hearts because the nurses and the police officers and the firefighters and emergency workers, they really are laying their lives on the line even still. So what we did was we were invited to partner with essential workers in Saint Petersburg. No, that was here in Pinellas County. A community event in St. Petersburg. 3 events we participated in was the Feeding Tampa Bay, where we were able to put our little sample packet and our little coupon into a packet with a lot of other businesses that were doing things to help folks who needed food. That was really dear to our hearts. So you kind of could say the homeless. And then we participated in an event here with the essential workers in St. Petersburg, where we also put in a small sample of brittle. I think we only did the 3. And put a coupon in. And it was really amazing because I have a cousin who's a nurse. And when she got her bag with all of these goodies in it, there popped Psalms Gourmet Brittle. And she was just telling everybody, this is my cousin. She was so excited. And she emailed me and she said, I can't believe it. I am so proud of you, This is delicious. She just went on and on and on. So that was really nice and encouraging. And I think Carlton dealt with the Red's food truck.
Yes, yes. We were able to Red's barbecue, food truck. They who are also good friends. One of the first vendors that we actually started working with, they had an event where they were donating food through the Bayfront healthcare. Our Bayfront Hospital had an initiative where they just had a certain amount of hours where people can drive through to the food truck and pick up food. So we were able to also contribute to that with samples of brittle and also coupons so people can go online and purchase. So all three of these initiatives were very impactful, and we had a chance to interact with the community in a very unique way, particularly in these trying times as we deal with COVID and so forth. So
I think you're exactly right. As we've seen the impact that COVID has had on the community, the response, especially in the business community, has been fantastic as we help those who need the most and are the most insecure. Those are the ones that we need to make sure that we don't let slip through the cracks. And I have to say, I'm inspired by a lot of what I've seen throughout the community, especially with groups like Feeding Tampa Bay that you mentioned, and just a lot of the effort that's gone into ensuring that we have a strong community and that we're strong and healthy to fight, kind of the things that we're facing today. Now, I look at business in a very positive way. I think that you have successes, and I don't believe that you have failures. I believe that you end up learning lessons about how to do something better rather than failing. What is the most important lesson that you guys have learned thus far in your endeavor with Psalms Gourmet Brittle?
Well, one thing that I would say is probably the biggest lesson. I used to hear this said a lot, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. But it's this term that is listen to the customer. Listen to your customer. And for a long time, we were making just peanut brittle. You mentioned earlier that all of these flavors are kind of new to you because all you've heard really is about peanut brittle. And
right.
For a long time, peanut brittle was what we were making, and this is what we were selling. But it was one customer that said, "Hey, do you guys make pecan brittle?" And so I took this information to my mom, and of course my mom's looking like, "Well, we don't do peanut brittle. No, we don't do pecan brittle."
Right.
And so, but the lesson in that is that we took, we had the courage to step out and to try something different with the pecan versus the peanut. And that pecan brittle is what has catapulted the company. It literally is taking the company from one level all the way to the next because it is by far our best-selling product. And so it just makes me think that if we didn't listen to the customer and have the courage to try something new and not just kind of just shut it down, but just test and try it really opened up. It would have closed the door that has now become such a blessing to us now.
Popular. Mm-hmm.
And
let me just add to that too, Brett, because when he asked me about pecan, I thought, oh my God, pecan, that's a very expensive nut. Okay, what am I going to do with being able to get the nut, which is the main ingredients, at a price that I can feel pretty comfortable with asking the consumer to pay? So I remember that during Christmas time again, I had an aunt who would always order her pecans from this one pecan company out of Georgia. And I called her and got the name of it. So I got on the phone. I started sourcing my ingredient. And she gave me the name. So I went online and looked them up. And they said they had pieces of pecan that they sold by the pound. So I called got a hold of Lynn, was her name, and I still deal with Lynn. And she went on to describe these pecan pieces. You can get small pieces, medium, or large pieces. So I said, let me try the small. So she sent me a box. And that's how I said, this is it. Those pecans, oh my God, they are so delicious. You can eat the pecans just by themselves. I mean, the best pecans you could ever put in your mouth. So that got me all worked up and excited about this pecan flavor. And then from there came mixed nut. And that mixed nut is pecan, peanut, hazelnut, almonds, and cashews. And so, all I can say is pecans started a trail of other flavors, because with the banana nut, I could do that with, banana walnut. I could also do it with banana pecan if I wanted. But most people think of banana nut bread, of course, with walnuts. So that's why I chose the walnut to go with that flavor. But if
so you got,
mm-hmm.
I was just going to ask. I've seen how connected you are in the community. Are you St. Pete natives, or did you move from somewhere else?
Clearwater.
Okay.
Clearwater.
So you've been Pinellas County for a long time.
Yes, and I moved away. Very young, moved to Atlanta, but I came back home to Clearwater. So I've been here now for years, over 30. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I also I went to Dunedin High School, so I grew up in the Clearwater, Dunedin area. Then I left the state to go to college, and then went to New York and Chicago and lived outside of the country for a little bit of time. And I ended up moving back, and my mother already being in Saint Petersburg, I decided that I wanted to be closer to her, so I decided to also live in St. Pete. And I've been here. I've been back in the St. Pete, Pinellas area now for 5 going on 6 years.
Family is an amazing magnet, isn't it?
It is.
It really is.
So what are some of the events where people, or activities that you all have coming up, where people can, especially listeners to Hustleburg, they should have it on their calendar, where they can meet or find Psalms Peanut Brittle outside of your typical vendors, the things where they can actually get to meet you guys?
Well, we're anticipating Tyrone Square Mall starting Black Friday all the way up until Christmas Eve. We're looking into that venue again because it was so successful for us last year. And again,
that's something where you guys give samples and you sell direct to consumer. Is that right?
Exactly, where they can purchase the product. And the other event is the one that's coming up in February 2021 in Williams Park, called Locotopia, where, again, we aren't sure what St. Peter's going to do about that.
Right.
We're hoping they're going to allow people together, because they're trying not to have these large venues where you got all these people coming together. Hopefully by then, COVID-19 would be abated, slow down, whatever you want to call it, so that folks can come together. We want people to come together and have a good time, a festival type event. So that's what we're looking at. And of course, we also are looking into other venues. We worked with Saint Petersburg College in the past. So we possibly, if they do something where they're going to have a student event at any of the campus sites, we will be out there. So anyone who's a student at St. Pete College, they can look for us to be doing something there in February. If they're having something coming up in December, we get a call from St. Pete College if there's a big event at the Clearwater campus. They'll call and say, would you like to participate, and so forth. So those 3 venues are good opportunities for us to still get our name out there and so forth.
Well, speaking of getting your name out there, where can people find out more about Psalms Gourmet Brittle? Your website, where they can find you on social media and the like.
Absolutely. Well, definitely you can go to psalmsbrittle.com. That's spelled PSALMS Brittle, BRITTLE.com. You also can go to our Instagram. We're very, very busy on that social platform. That's at Psalms Brittle CO, short for company, Psalms Brittle Co. And also Facebook at Psalms Brittle. And we just started a YouTube as well, so customers can follow along my journey as I'm going into all of these different vendors and getting feedback from customers and just getting a chance to see these various places where we're going into. You can go to just probably / Psalms Gourmet Brittle, or just search for it in your YouTube and you'll see us there as we're posting videos. And also you can go to our Instagram and see some of the videos as well and testimonials that we have there too.
Well, the good news for listeners is I make sure that I link all of those. They'll be in the show notes that are on the Beyond Your Side Hustle page. They'll be linked there for you to be able to reach so that you can find out more. Psalms, Carlton, it was a pleasure speaking with you today, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
Yes, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. And here, this is one last thing that I want to say as well. We also wanted to extend to your audience a coupon code Hustleburg 15, where they'll be able to get 15% off on their purchase whenever they go to our website.
Oh, I love that. So Hustleburg 15 is a coupon code that you can order your Psalms Gourmet Brittle directly from them on their website, and we'll make sure to include that as well in the show notes in case you didn't have a chance to write it down. Guys, thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brett, and you have a wonderful, blessed rest of your day.
You did it. You just listened to Hustleburg. To thank you for listening, we're helping you reach ideal engagement on any social media platform in a 3-week training available at beyondyoursidehustle.com/3 weeks. See how you can change your feed to serve you, start engaging on social the right way, and create a community around you and your business. Speaking of businesses, if you're a small business owner in St. Pete and you'd like to be a guest on an episode of the podcast, let us know at beyondyoursidehustle.com/podcast guest. If you got something of value from this podcast, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast player. This is something small that you can do to help us shine the spotlight on all the great businesses St. Pete has to offer. The music in this episode is Defining Your Dreams by my friend Rhymer Educator. On May 28th, he released a mixtape entitled Quentin Quarantino about loneliness during the COVID-19 pandemic, and I encourage you to check it out on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to great music. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to sharing with you how we do business in the Burg.